Strictly music, only music, nothing else. And let's go ahead and keep the ball rolling with these album reviews because we do have a lot rolling in as we begin to put the lid on 2024. So without further ado, what's next? Let's go ahead and get into Eternal ATAKE 2 by the artist known as Lil Uzi Vert. And we're not going to waste any time because we do have a schedule to keep. We have a lot of albums lined up, ladies and gentlemen. So let's go ahead and get into it. You know how we do, track by track, line by line, bar for bar. What do we think of Eternal ATAKE 2? Track 1, We Good. We opened that project up with Vintage Uzi. Not a huge fan of this particular track. However, it is only the first track, and it is Vintage Uzi, vintage sound and Uzi. So his core following would not be disappointed with this track at all. I'm not a huge fan of it. I don't think it's a very strong track to open up a project. And as you guys know that follow me and that are subscribed, if you're not a subscriber, please do so. I like when projects open up strong. I look at it like an essay. You want that first sentence to really capture and captivate your reader, and this track just wasn't it for me in pertaining to that. Now, track 2, Light Year, also known as Practice. This track is definitely better than the previous. I would have much rather had this one as the initial track for the project. The bass and the ad-libs definitely adds a lot to this track, and I like the intro as well. However, it's still not a particularly strong sounding track, but it is better than its predecessor, and I feel like this is the one that should have been first. Now, track 3, Meteor Man. So we are seeing an increase in quality of tracks at this point. 2 is better than 1, 3 is better than 2. I like production on this track a lot. I also like the pitch on Uzi's voice. I like how it takes the occasional dip. Still not an overtly strong track, however. Much stronger than track 1 and stronger than track 2. But I have heard stronger opening tracks on previous Uzi projects. But we are in the beginning of the project, so we will give it grace as there is a lot of room for improvement. And I'm also a big fan of the outro on this track as well, and that was track 3, Meteor Man. Now, track 4, Pears in the Mars. This is one track that's giving me that Uzi that I want. So we do see an overall increase in the project over time. 4 is better than 3, 3 is better than 2, 2 is better than 1. Track 4 is giving me the Uzi that I want. And we're seeing an increase over time, which is a different approach than what artists usually do, which is start out strong. This project starts out a bit weak, and it gains traction over time. But I do like this track a lot. So each track, it would appear so far that the trope of this project is each track is better than the last. Not a big fan with starting the project off weak, but it is increasing over time, and we're only 4 tracks in, so there is a lot of room for improvement there. Now, track 5, The Rush, featuring Big Time Rush, and probably the most unlikely feature of the year. We have Uzi and Big Time Rush, and we have had some very unlikely features this year, like Tyler, Glorilla, and Kirk Franklin. We even see Sexy Red popping out all over the place. Was not expecting Lil Uzi featuring Big Time Rush, even though they didn't have a pretty prominent part in the track, from what I can hear. If I'm incorrect, let me know. But they were still listed as a feature on the project, the only feature, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And I was not expecting that at all. This is a good track, debatably not as good as the previous, so we are experiencing a little hiccup there. But this project is definitely becoming more enjoyable over time. I like the ad-libs on this a lot. The non-stop ooze coupled with the beat makes you want to move your head. This is a bop for sure. 5 tracks in, the project's not starting off particularly strong. It is getting stronger. But at this point, we need something. We need something at this point. Now, track 6, Not an Option. And we have finally taken off when we get to track 6. This is Uzi on full display, and I'm here for it. He leaves nothing to be desired on this particular track, and he even manages to fit a flow switch in there as well. This is one of those ones, no question. So finally, as we reach track 6, we finally take off with this project, and we can really start getting into it. Now, track 7, She Stank. This beat is nasty work. Big ups to production. You know we always shout production out. Easily the best beat thus far, and he allows it to breathe as well. Shout out to production. They knew it was nasty. They gave it some breathing room. He goes back in and he cooks up once the beat's done breathing. We are officially cooking with grease from track 4 onward. We have been on the up and the up and the up, and this track follows the same trope. As we get hotter and hotter and hotter, the grease is starting to bubble, ladies and gentlemen. Track 7 is flames. Now, track 8, Mr. Chow. This track is definitely reminiscent of an older UZI, and who doesn't love old UZI Vert? It's very refreshing and enjoyable. UZI fans rejoice. This one is for you. So UZI fans that's been there since day one, track 8, that's the medicine for you guys. Get in tune with that. Now, track 9, Lift 'Em Up, LYFT, lift, hop in that lift, get to where you going, lift 'em up. I like how UZI approaches this track. I always like UZI's straight through flow. Prior to contrary belief, UZI does possess a bit of rapping ability. Another banger of a beat, so big ups to production as we approach the midway point of this project. So it was definitely a slow starter, to say the least. But we started cooking with grease around 4. The grease got very, very hot and bubbled up around 6 and 7. And we're starting to get more and more and more and more into it. So it's more enjoyable over time. I can definitely testify to that. Now, track 10, Chips and Dip. Another UZI slap, and production comes through once again. We can add this to the list of bops we have here on the project so far. Quick in and out from UZI as he drops something else off to nod your head to, and then we get out of there. None of these songs on this project are particularly long, and the project is not exceptionally long itself as a body of work either, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Now, track 11, Black Hole. I do like this track because it's different. However, if you're not a fan of UZI, this one will definitely go overhead. I like it personally, but I can easily see this being heralded as one of the weaker songs on the project if you're not accustomed to the sound. Track 11, Black Hole, is definitely an acquired taste, and if you're not a UZI fan, you're not really going to gravitate towards this. Definitely need to be trained and the way of UZI Vert when he gets in this particular bag. And if you're not, this is a skip for you, definitely. I can easily see people heralding this as one of the weaker songs on the project. Now, track 12, Chill Bay. Soft UZI has finally appeared, and if you know soft melodic UZI, we love that. And it's a banger. I would love to have seen way more of this. I mean, as we reach the tail end of the project, I feel like this could have been, shown way earlier. Definitely in top 1 contention. I like this one a lot. This song is definitely nothing less than top 3 on the project. At this point, it may be number 1, but it's up for debate because there are about 1 or 2 songs that can compete, and that 1 or 2 being 6 and or 7. Now, track 13, Go Yard Song. Let me recant that last statement. I don't think 6 and or 7. I think track 7 can have a shot. Other than that, at this point, I do think Chill Bay would be number 1. And 7 would be somewhere maybe in the top 5 conversation. Now, track 13, Go Yard Song. This track does have a softer vibe like the previous one with just a bit more oomph to it. I like this a lot. Another song that requires a predisposition to UZI. However, this song is pretty good. This track is dope. And if you have a predisposition to UZI, you're going to like it even more. It's definitely a if you know, you know type of track. If you know Uzi, if you know how his bag gets and how deep it is and his flows and stuff like that, you'll enjoy this one a lot. Now, track 14, Perky Sex. Let's see here. We continue with Soft Uzi for the tail end of this project, and I enjoy this a lot. Definitely do. One of my personal favorites. Definitely getting some more burn from me. This might be my personal favorite so far on the project. The harmonization on the chorus adds a lot for me as well. This one is dope. This may be my favorite track on the project so far, hands down. So we are definitely starting to finish strong here at the end of the project. So Perky Sex got me in a lock. No pun intended. I like that song a lot. Now track 15, Conceited. I'm enjoying the tail end of this project immensely. We switched over to the soft melodic Uzi, and we have yet to leave as we are one song away from the conclusion of the project. I enjoyed these tracks a lot from track 11 to 12 all the way until now, which is track 15. Definitely a vibe for sure. I like the outro on this project a lot. The outro supersedes the intro of this project. Hands down, no question, by a mile. I can take from 11 going forward, and I wouldn't mind a whole project with just slaps like that. From 11 to 15, that's my bag. (12 to 15, excuse me). 11, Black Hole, again, one of the weaker songs, especially if you're not accustomed to Uzi. 12 into 15, that's the bag that I like. That's where I'm at with it. So that would be Chill Bay, Goyard's song, Perky Sex, and Conceited. Flames. Black Hole, which is 11, I recant that. Probably the weakest song, like I stated previously. And then we get into the last and final song, which is Space High, track 16. And we finish out with another Uzi bop to close the book on Eternal ATAKE. Not the strongest track to finish out, but it gets the job done. This song could have easily went earlier in the project though, and the previous track 15 could have and should have been the one to carry us out. So how do I feel about Eternal ATAKE 2? It was surprising for a Uzi project. I've seen better from Uzi. I've heard better from Uzi. This is very surprising for a Uzi project. For it to start out very weak and for me not to get involved until about 6 tracks in, that's interesting. For it to also finish off a bit weak is also interesting. There's a couple songs off of here that I can pick from the crowd and definitely vibe with, but this is not by any stretch of the imagination the best Uzi that we've seen. This is not rare form Uzi. He does have a couple slaps on there, but it's definitely, when you line up his bodies of work, this is not going to compete with a vast majority of them. Does that mean that it's not enjoyable? Of course not. It's still enjoyable. It's Uzi. We all love Uzi, but this won't stand a candle to a lot of things. Uzi has some great bodies of work. Lil Uzi versus the World, even the first Eternal ATAKE, Love's Rage, stuff like that. Love's Rage 2. I don't know. It's interesting. It's definitely not, by his own standard, a great project. He's had better projects. It's not a bad project, but when compared to himself, it doesn't stand a candle to his own bodies of work. But get in the comments and let me know if that's the case, and let me know if I'm hitting the nail on the head, if that is what's going on with Eternal ATAKE 2. But I feel like it was lackluster in terms of what we know Uzi to be capable of. But I want you guys to give it a listen for yourself and tell me what you think. As of right now, Perky Sex, track 14, that's the one that got me. We all like Chill Bay. Chill Bay is dope as well. I think from 12 to 15, that is where we should have stayed for the entirety of this project, and maybe throw slaps like 6 and 7 in the mix. But I don't know. I've heard better UZI. I think we've all heard better UZI. Not a bad project, not a great one. Definitely not in the conversation with some of these other projects that have dropped this year, and it would be in the conversation with some projects that did drop this year that are also a bit lackluster. And if you want to know what those projects may be, just go through my page and you can probably see for yourself. Use your own discernment to which ones may be the weaker ones. But all in all, it's a, I don't want to say mid. It's an overused term. It's a decent body of work. I've seen better from UZI. I've heard better from UZI. It's a decent body of work. There are a couple songs on there that will carry this to the finish line and get the job done, but we've heard better from UZI. Strictly music, only music, and nothing else. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts, opinions, ideas, and or any questions or critiques. Also, let me know if you got any albums that you want me to tune into. And thank you for all the support. Strictly music, only music, and nothing else. Get at me. I'm here for it all. I'm here for it all.